Mary Bell was born on May 26, 1957, into profoundly difficult circumstances. Her mother, Betty, struggled significantly. Reports from the time describe a chaotic and unstable home environment. Betty reportedly exhibited volatile behaviour and showed little affection towards her daughter. Tragically, there were persistent accounts of neglect and mistreatment during Mary's earliest years. Growing up in the gritty, post-war landscape of Scotswood, Newcastle, Mary's childhood lacked stability or warmth. From a very young age, she displayed concerning behaviours noted by neighbours and authorities, intense cruelty towards animals, frightening other children, and a pattern of manipulation. She seemed isolated, angry, and deeply troubled. The foundations of a healthy childhood were simply not there. Around 1967, Mary formed a connection with another local girl, Norma Joyce Bell, no relation. Norma was described as less assertive and easily influenced. Their dynamic quickly became unbalanced, with Mary taking a dominant, controlling role. This friendship would soon become central to a devastating tragedy. On May 25, 1968, 4-year-old Martin Brown was found lifeless inside an abandoned house on White House Road. Initial investigations found no clear signs of a violent struggle, leading authorities to consider a tragic accident. An inquest recorded an open verdict, but the story didn't end there. In the days following Martin's death, several local nurseries were broken into. The vandalism was accompanied by deeply unsettling handwritten notes. One note chillingly claimed responsibility for Martin's death. The crude, childlike handwriting sent shockwaves through the community and police. Suddenly, the accidental death theory was thrown into serious doubt. Who could have written these? The whispers began. Just 7 weeks later, on July 31st, 1968, 3-year-old Brian Howe vanished while playing on wasteland near his home. He had been there with his sister Pat, Mary Bell, and Norma Bell. Pat briefly left the group. When she returned, Brian, Mary, and Norma were gone. Mary and Norma soon reappeared. Brian did not. A frantic search commenced. During the search, Mary Bell approached a neighbour involved in the effort and pointed towards a specific area near some rubble, suggesting they look there. Moments later, Brian Howe's body was discovered, concealed under some discarded material in that exact spot. It was immediately clear this was not an accident. Brian had died from strangulation. Further examination revealed disturbing, unexplained marks on his body. The community was reeling. 2 little boys dead under deeply suspicious circumstances within weeks. Attention immediately focused on Mary and Norma Bell, the last known companions of Brian Howe. Police interviews began. Norma, under questioning, became increasingly distressed and implicated Mary, describing her role in Brian's death. Mary, in stark contrast, appeared detached and offered shifting stories, even attempting to blame a fictitious stranger. The evidence, combined with Norma's account, increasingly pointed to Mary as the instigator of a horrific act. Interviewing Mary Bell proved deeply unsettling for investigators. She displayed a chilling lack of emotional response for an 11-year-old. She was observant, asked probing questions about the police work, and demonstrated a sophisticated ability to lie and manipulate. She reenacted aspects of the incident on a doll, with a disturbing lack of affect. Her demeanor was described as eerily calm and calculating, a stark contrast to the expected reaction of a child. The pieces began to fit together. The taunting notes found after Martin Brown's death, subjected to handwriting analysis, Norma's detailed testimony about Brian Howe's death, and Mary's own inconsistent statements and knowledge. Authorities concluded both girls were involved in Brian's death, but Mary was the dominant force. Eventually, Mary made admissions regarding Brian Howe. While Martin Brown's death remained officially unresolved, the evidence strongly suggested Mary's involvement. Both Mary and Norma Bell were charged with the murders of Martin Brown and Brian Howe. the nation grappled with the unthinkable concept of child killers. In December 1968, the Central Criminal Court, the Old Bailey, became the unlikely setting for the trial of two 11-year-old girls. The courtroom was adapted. The judge removed his traditional wig, the girls sat on raised chairs, but the gravity of the charges was immense. The prosecution argued Mary Bell was a deeply disturbed child, capable of calculated violence, presenting the notes, witness testimony, and her own behaviour. The defence focused heavily on Mary's background. Psychiatrists testified extensively about the severe impact of her traumatic upbringing, suggesting it resulted in profound psychological disturbance and a significantly diminished capacity to understand the full wrongfulness of her actions. Norma's defence portrayed her as a terrified follower under Mary's coercive influence. After hearing harrowing details of the crimes and the tragic life stories involved, the jury reached their verdicts. Norma Joyce Bell was found not guilty on both counts of murder. The jury accepted she acted under duress. Mary Flora Bell was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility for the deaths of both Martin Brown and Brian Howe. The court recognised her responsibility, but acknowledged her extreme youth and damaged mental state. She was sentenced to be detained during Her Majesty's pleasure, an indefinite term to be reviewed as she grew older. An 11-year-old was deemed a danger to society, and Mary Bell entered the juvenile detention system, starting at Red Bank-approved school. Her arrival was met with media frenzy. Initial reports described a deeply troubled, volatile, and manipulative girl struggling to adapt. The label psychopath followed her, but the focus within the system began to shift towards understanding and treatment. Slowly, over years within structured therapeutic environments away from her toxic past, a change occurred. Mary began to engage with therapy and education. She started to form tentative bonds with caregivers. Crucially, for the first time, she began to show signs of genuine remorse and emotional understanding of the devastation she had caused. Her journey wasn't easy, marked by setbacks, but a significant transformation was observed as she moved through different secure facilities towards more open settings like Moore Court. The damaged child was beginning painfully to heal. After 12 years in custody, Mary Bell was released in 1980 at the age of 23. Recognizing the unique circumstances and her documented rehabilitation, the Home Office took an unprecedented step. They granted her a new identity and a lifetime anonymity order. Mary Flora Bell effectively vanished from public view. This decision remains intensely controversial. The families of Martin Brown and Brian Howe felt it denied them justice and closure. The public struggled with the idea of anonymity for someone convicted of such crimes. Authorities argued it was essential for her continued rehabilitation and safety, allowing her a chance at a normal life without being perpetually hounded. Life under this new identity has been fraught with challenges: the constant fear of exposure, difficulty forming trusting relationships, and the psychological burden of her past. She became a mother in 1984, an event that reportedly deepened her understanding of her victims' loss. However, her past resurfaced dramatically in 1998 when she participated in a book about her life and crimes, Cries Unheard by Gita Sereni. This caused immense pain to the victims' families and led to legal battles to extend anonymity protections to her daughter. Despite intense media pressure and challenges, she has maintained her anonymity and, by all accounts, lived a law-abiding life since her release, becoming a grandmother. The Mary Bell case forces us to confront complex and painful questions. Was she inherently evil, or was her capacity for violence forged in the crucible of extreme childhood trauma and neglect? The psychiatric evidence strongly pointed to the latter. A child whose ability to empathize was catastrophically damaged before it could develop. Her case irrevocably changed the UK's approach to child offenders. It cemented the principle of diminished responsibility for children, shifting the focus towards understanding the root causes of such extreme behaviour and the potential for rehabilitation alongside accountability. The lifetime anonymity order remains one of the most debated legacies, constantly testing the balance between protecting a rehabilitated individual and the rights of victims' families to know. Above all, we must remember Martin Brown and Brian Howe, toddlers whose lives were brutally cut short. Their families endured unimaginable and lasting pain. Norma Joyce Bell, the coerced follower, reportedly lived a life overshadowed by her involvement until her death in 2021. Mary Bell's story is ultimately a tragedy on multiple levels. It's a stark reminder of the devastating long-term consequences of child abuse and neglect. It challenges our concepts of guilt, punishment, and redemption. Her subsequent life under anonymity, while controversial, stands as evidence of the human capacity for profound change, even from the darkest beginnings. But it also underscores a painful truth. Some wounds, like those inflicted on the families of Martin and Brian, never fully heal. The case leaves us not with easy answers, but with a heavy responsibility to protect vulnerable children and to grapple with the complexities of justice and mercy. It's a lot to take in. Be kind to each other out there. Cheers.